clothing.
Toy Story might actually be my favorite animated movie
Of all time?
Yeah.
The first Toy Story?
Yeah. I might be.
Why?
I really like it.
Okay.
I really like it. You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity. Or what about the scene where Buzz Lightyear is like drunk on tea?
Ms. Nesbitt.
I am Mrs. Nesbitt. Probably one of the fucking funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. So, first of all, it came out the same year that we did. 1995. And, it was made partially by my previous boss, Steve Jobs, who helped found Pixar. Yeah.
Oh, fun fact. I didn't know that.
Yeah, fun fact. And yeah, man, I don't know. It just came out at the right time
he was
because
never your boss. He was dead before you joined Apple, wasn't he?
he was. So, by my previous boss, Tim Apple's, according to Donald Trump, he called him Tim Apple once, which I think is so funny because he's such an idiot. Idiot! You moron! I've been watching a lot of New Girl, so I'm taking up a lot of Schmidt-isms. He talks like that. But anyway, Tim Apple, a.k.a. Tim Cook, if you bad. He was friends with Steve Jobs. So, like, degrees of separation, I guess. Anyway, Toy Story. So Toy Story follows, if you don't know, a group of toys owned by a kid named Andy, who is probably one of the most terrifying computer-generated characters I've ever seen in my life, next to Sid, who takes a solid first place, who is also in the first Toy Story movie.
It doesn't look the best, but the writing is still there.
And the story is still there, too. It's a classic story. It's almost like a buddy cop movie, but it holds up as one of the finest animated films ever made. To this day, even if it doesn't look the best, you have to remember at the time,
It probably did look the best.
Yeah, honestly. It spawned a lot of competitors through that and really set computer generated movies, like animated movies, CG, onto the path that it's on today. Even for like video games, like it pioneered a lot of technology that is still used to this day by film companies and film schools for students and video games and stuff like that. So on a technical level, in real life merit, Toy Story is an accomplishment for humanity and is a big step for animation. But on the scale of just story-wise, character-wise, writing-wise, it still really works. I don't think the original Toy Story is going to make me cry anytime soon. It will make me laugh out loud. And I am a little terrified whenever I see the scene of all of Sid's toys ganging up on him, and then I'm getting goosebumps talking about it right now, and then Woody turns his head around like an exorcist, and he's like, "Play nice," and he does that, and he scares the shit out of Sid, who grew up to be a garbage worker, and he had the garbage truck in Toy Story 3 that like tied all of the. It's a rumor that Sid is the guy who at the end of Toy Story 3 tied Lotso up to the front of his truck.
Oh.
Yeah, because I think the guy with the truck had the same like skull somewhere on his shirt or vest or whatever.
Interesting.
Anyway, yeah, I think Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, they play those characters really, really well. And all of the supporting cast too, like throughout all of these movies, except for maybe Lightyear, but we'll get to that in a second. All of the supporting cast in the Toy Story movies, they're also really, really good. Like I to this day, that is the standard that I set for myself for any group setting. Like when I was working at Apple and we had our group meetings, it kind of felt like when the toys would have meetings in Andy's room. I don't know, there was just a camaraderie there, and you could tell that we were all in this together. And yeah, Ham is really good. Rex, played by Wallace Shawn. Oh my God, Mr. Potato Head, Slinky,
Slink. I was like,
Slink
starts with
Dog.
an S. Yeah, bro.
Bo Peep.
Arlie Ermy as the sergeant of the
Oh my
toy
gosh.
soldier guys.
Yep. Yeah. The only person you could have cast in that role, and it really made like getting to grow up with Toy Story. I don't know, man.
I think that's the thing, because if you look at the timeline of those movies coming out, I mean, the first one came out when we were born, so we didn't really weren't really there for that. But like Toy Story 2, we were around like 5, 6, which is probably when I saw like both of those.
Yeah.
And by the time Toy Story 3 was coming out, we were
about to enter high school.
Like,
it was the summer of 2010.
Yeah. But like, growing up, giving your toys away.
Yeah.
And then Toy Story 4 drops around the time people are having kids. I mean, not us, but like
our friends and people that we know. So
it follows, like, if you were born or like lived close to early Toy Story, and by the time you get to 4, like that, like it follows like you in life.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Well, and that is emblematic of the Pixar timeline as a whole, in general too, given that we start with really simple concepts like what if toys were alive, and then by the time the audience who grew up with Toy Story is at an older, like, the movies start getting more and more intelligent as time goes on, because now we're getting movies like Inside Out and Soul, where it's like, what does it mean to be alive, and what does it mean to, like, have feelings and learn about development, and it's amazing. It's crazy, but we'll have to save that for our Pixar talk, because now we gotta go on to Toy Story 2, which came out not super shortly after the first one, but it was 2000. Toy Story and then Bug's Life and then Toy Story 2.
Around 2000.
Yeah. Toy Story 2, I don't remember as much, because we were talking about it earlier today. It's the Pixar movie, like, bar none, that I've watched the least amount of times. Like, even including Bug's Life, because at least I've seen that twice. I don't know how often I've seen Toy Story 2, but I remember bits and pieces. Like, I remember the fight between Buzz and Zurg at the end of the movie, where they do the Luke, I am your father thing, which at the time I thought was really funny, because I was like, I know that reference. But I think as an adult, if I were to see that again now, I'd be like, that's a little on the nose, isn't it? That's a little, like, too self-referential. Because that implies, like, do they have Star Wars in the Toy Story universe? Do they know that that's an iconic line, or is it, whatever? So there's a lot of questions. Aside from that, they introduce, like, they go into, like, Woody's story a lot more. We get to meet Jesse. We meet Bullseye. We meet the pickaxe guy. I forget his name. Wally, maybe.
No, I don't know what it was, but yeah.
Yeah, and we see all the commercials for Alice Toy Barn. Holy shit, so good. And, like, the guy, I think, Newman from Seinfeld, Wayne Knight, I think he played the guy who ran Alice's Toy Barn. Al, yeah. He dresses up in the chicken suit. And then I also remember the scene where all of the other toys have to sneak out and rescue Woody, and they hide under the traffic cones, and they're, like, out of Andy's room, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
So overall, it's a really cool movie, and it spawned the meme of Woody walking out of his box, when they're all, like, playing around, and he, like, tips his hat or whatever. Yeah, Chad Woody. But yeah, I remember the least about that one. I also remember there was that montage of Jessie talking about her old kid that had the song "When She Loved Me," which unironically makes me, like, tear up every time I hear it. Or when somebody loved me, I don't know. And I would rather have that over "You Got a Friend in Me" any day, because the first couple of notes of "You Got a Friend in Me,"
some other folks might be. I still think I can sing that whole song from, like, heart.
Do it right now.
Let me do it right now. You got a friend in me.
Dun, da, 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 dum,
You got a friend in me.
dum, da, 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 ba, da.
What's the first?
Yeah, I think
When the road looks rough ahead and you're miles and miles from your nice warm bed,
so. We came
you
back.
just remember what your old pal said. Boy, you got a friend in me.
We just came back from a break because my camera overheated,
Some other folks might be a little bit stronger than I am.
and he's been
Bigger and stronger too,
been
maybe. But none of them
he's been
will ever love you the way I do.
singing this whole
It's just me and you, boy.
time.
And as the years go by, our friendship will never die.
And I remember that part because in Toy Story 3, that's when the song fades out and you hear "Friendship will never die," and then it cuts to their friendship dying because Andy gets really old, like he gets a lot older, which segues us into Toy Story 3. And easily my favorite out of all three. Or all four, including Lightyear, I guess all five. Toy Story 3 is the movie that I would watch for a really long time if I needed a good cry. Like if I just needed to cry, I'd watch Toy Story 3 because it really got me. So yeah, like David was saying earlier, it was the movie that made us realize that these folks at Pixar were really catering the movies that they were making to the original viewers of their first movies, because there's a lot of references to Andy getting older and Woody having to move on from being Andy's toy, and there's also a lot of dark themes in that movie, as well as one of the darkest scenes in Pixar where you think the whole gang is gonna die.
Literally everyone on the planet thought that was the end.
Like in an incinerator. We thought everyone was gonna die burning up in an incinerator. And they drag this scene out where they're all holding hands, accepting their fate, all collectively. They go from being really, really scared, and then I remember like Bullseye is the first one. He starts freaking out, and then Woody just holds his hand out, and he's like, without even saying a fucking word, he's like, "Let's die together, buddy." And it's just the most terrifying thing. I would understand if a lot of kids didn't like the third one because it was too scary. I mean, Lotso was too scary. He was too mean. But that's what makes it a badass movie, is because like the villain is written really well, and it's like a prison escape movie, and it's like there's a lot of action to it, and like the humor is really, really well written.
There's the one scene where they reset Buzz, and then he like gets like Spanish mode. He starts dancing with Jesse.
We love Spanish Buzz.
Oh man.
Yeah, and Lotso Huggins is a really good, like all of the new characters they introduce, all of the actors that are playing those roles now. Michael Keaton plays Ken, who is like a companion to Barbie in this movie, because obviously he is. But he has this whole scene where he's going through his wardrobe and like, who else? Yeah, they introduce Bonnie, who is the new kid who ends up taking all of Andy's toys at the end of the movie, and that scene always makes me cry so hard because that's the end of the movie, is like Andy giving these toys to Bonnie, and then he's introducing them one by one, and he's like, "This is Jessie, and she's the rootinest, tootinest, whatever." And then it gets to Woody, who Andy thought he left out of the box because he was like, "I'm going to take Woody with me to college." And then Woody, of course, is in the bottom of the box because he's like, "I'm not going to leave my friends behind." And so Andy's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And Bonnie's like, "Sheriff." And she's like, Andy's like, "What? How do you know who Woody is?" Because Woody had, broken out into Bonnie's house earlier in the movie. So she goes to grab him, and then Andy like gets defensive, like he reverts to being a kid again, and Bonnie doesn't understand because she's like, "This is an adult that I'm talking to." And then Andy in that moment has a really good, like he knows Woody really well, and he describes Woody to Bonnie, and he's like, "This toy will never leave you behind," and he's very thoughtful and really nice. Things that an average person talking about an average toy would never. Like he goes into descriptors that are like about Woody's personality, and I'm like, okay, you don't know him. He's not he doesn't talk to you, unless in the 10 years between movies, Woody actually did. But I don't know. And then Andy drives away to college, and then all of the toys on the step get up, and they, are saying goodbye. And then I think Woody says, "So long, cowboy." And
So long, partner.
So long, partner. And that's where it gets me.
Yeah, Woody is like, "See you, space cowboy." And
Yeah.
it's prequel. It's a prequel movie series to Cowboy Bebop. Yeah, Toy Story 4 drops, and everyone's like, "Oh, it closed out so well. It closed out so well with Toy Story 3."
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I mean, Andy's story did, but
Right.
Woody's still fucked up. He's
yeah,
like,
Woody's still...
bro, what? I don't know what to do with my
He's
life.
still developmentally, stunted.
So it's very much his story, and it's very much like for like parents, like I said, who like grew up with the other movies.
Well, and by the end of it, Woody and Bo Peep, because Bo Peep is back, because Bo Peep got sold I think in between 2 and 3, because I think she was Andy's little sister's toy, and I think Andy's little sister gave all of her toys away in a box, except for Barbie, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember. But Bo Peep is back. She's a badass. And Woody, by the end of the movie, decides to stay with her because there's this whole, it's this theme of letting go and moving on and finding adventure. And Woody doesn't, he's going through the same motions that he did with Andy, and Bo Peep is like, but there's more out there, dude. There's more to this life than being a kid's toy, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know. It's a love story. And then there's Forky, who's a fun character. He's literally just a spork with googly eyes and pipe cleaners, arms and feet. And that's it. And I think he's got sticky tack for his mouth. It's nuts.
Trash.
He's trash.
He's trash.
Yeah, and
sentient garbage.
Yeah, but he's awesome because it's basically just a baby that that Woody has to babysit.
Yeah. And of course we got Key and Peele coming in.
As
Ducky and
Bunny. The standout characters in Toy Story 4. I remember I really liked Toy Story 4. I haven't watched it in a bit, but I know my little sister, she likes Forky. She likes Toy Story 4. And who knows? Who knows if we'll ever get a Toy Story 5? But, there's no more Woody, no more Bo Peep. I honestly don't think we need a Toy Story 5, but I said that about Toy Story 4, and we got one, and I liked it. So, Who knows? But instead of getting a Toy Story 5, what we did get was Lightyear, which I know we already talked a big chunk of Toy Story today, but with this being kind of the newest release, I want to focus on it a little bit more with the rest of our movie time, because Lightyear is the movie that Andy saw in 1995 that inspired him to get a Buzz Lightyear toy.
Yeah.
So it raises a lot of existential questions, like I don't know, but yeah, it's do toys look the exact same as people in this universe? Is this just what was the technology in 1995? Was it the same technology that we used to make this movie? What there are layers to this, but if you don't overthink about it, it's pretty good. It's
it's fine.
It's not super memorable. I think I hyped up Chris Evans playing Buzz Lightyear in my head more than I probably should have, because he plays the role pretty well. I think the redesign of Zurg is really cool, but the twist that
I hated that.
Spoiler
I think that's
alert.
So dumb.
Yeah, so there's time travel in this movie, which obviously complicates and is kind of a cop-out for whatever kind of movie you're trying to write. There's a time travel aspect to Lightyear where he's trying to figure out warp speed, and every time you try to enter warp speed, you move forward in time because you're moving, so fast, I guess. I don't know. But because of that, all of his friends fucking die. And he hasn't figured out how to get off that planet that they got marooned on.
All of his like one friend. He only talked to Hawthorne, and that was it.
Well, right, yeah, but still, that was kind of a sad sequence because then the last time that, like, the time before the last time he leaves to try warp speed again. By now, you know, everyone on the planet has like had lives and cultivated more relationships on this planet. Like Hawthorne had a wife and a kid and like grandkids, and there's a scene where like he throughout this montage keeps going into her office to be like, hey, I'm going out again, it's good to see you, but I'm going out again. And so you see, you know, Hawthorne get married to her wife, and then you see like their kid graduate from like high school or college or whatever. You see him get married, and you meet, you know, like the kid's like wife. And by the end of the movie, by the end of the montage, he goes into her office and it's gutted out. There's nothing in there except for a desk. And then there's like a little video, and it's like, hey, I'm in the hospital right now. And if you're seeing this, I'm probably dead.
Yeah, peace out.
Yeah, but it was really a sweet moment because it's like, this is the one friend that Lightyear had, and the person who like was holding him accountable to this promise he made about like, we're gonna get off this planet. So the message, the central like character development for Lightyear, I think, is really admirable, and I like that a lot. And the cat,
Socks.
I almost called him Boots. Socks is the best character in the movie. I fucking love Socks so much. There are some moments, like trailer moments, that are a little annoying, like when he's like analyzing, he'll go meow 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 meow, you know, which is like, it's definitely like, oh, we need catchphrases for the toy that we're gonna put out. Like when you push its paw, what is it gonna say? But he was really cool. Taika Waititi is in this movie because of course he is. He's everywhere now, and he just plays Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
I think Keke Palmer played Hawthorne's granddaughter, and you know, her seeing the statue of her grandma at the end of the movie was really sweet. And then the other I forget what the other,
the convict, the parole one.
Yeah. I mean, she was funny, and like her interactions with Taika Waititi were funny. But yeah, the twist in the middle, or towards the end of the movie, you find out that Zurg is actually Buzz from the future, from an alternate timeline where he came back from experimenting with warp speed, and then he just went as far as he could with warp speed, and then went to a future that had the alien technology that Zurg acquired. So he was like, I've just been waiting for you, which doesn't really make sense, because if time moves a lot, I don't know, man.
Dumb idea.
So
really, it should have just been like the other commander that was trying to arrest him, you know, or just make him just robots.
I think what could have been funny is if it was the rookie from the beginning of the movie that Buzz kept shitting all over.
Oh, yeah.
If it was him, I would have laughed out loud. I would have been like, what? And then he's like, who's the fucking rookie now, bitch? And then like kills Buzz.
I would have rather just have him be just a robot.
Yeah.
You know, we're on a different planet. It's the future. They're just robots.
But like Buzz needed to learn a lesson, I guess. So his lesson was like, these people already have lives, and I'm not, you know, trying to like go back to a life that we were living before is only going to set us back. So why not look to the future? And so he becomes friends with the new Star Command. He defeats Zurg until you see a post-credit scene where Zurg is still alive. I guess Buzz.
Yeah.
And Star Command is, you know,
Oh yeah, then the other post-credit scene with the robots still giving the guide, which I thought was pretty amusing.
Yeah, I like that robot. I forget what the robot's name was.
Derek.
Yeah. I think it was Eric at first, and then like when they made him like a rebel, they just drew a D.
Yeah.
And they gave him like spikes and, you know, like Mad Max and Mad Max outfit. But yeah, overall it was pretty good. I've seen it twice. It didn't really get better the second time, but it didn't get worse. So it's a very average watch. So I don't know. If you're like a really big Buzz Lightyear fan, if you really like space or like Star Command, then obviously, you know, you're going to find more things to enjoy about it. But if you're going into it thinking you're getting the unadulterated Pixar experience, you know, you're just setting yourself up, because that's not what it is. It's just an average sort of average Pixar movie. But you know, not to end on a bummer of a note, the Toy Story franchise is not ruined by Lightyear. You know, you can still enjoy Toy Story even if you don't like Lightyear.